Hey folks, Dee Dee here today for May Arts, and I just want to tell you, real quick that I am forever going to be showing you a million different ways to use ribbon or alter ribbon or change ribbon, because it's great just like it comes, but it's always so fun to customize things, and I always have a blast layering and just making things a little bit different. So today we're going to be using stencils with some of our favorite May Arts ribbon. And stencils or masks, they're pretty frequently, the name is pretty frequently inverted or mixed up, or however you want to say it, they're switched out. I have, for starters, gourmet stamps, I think is what they're called. This is their stencil. And so today it's pretty important to note that all kinds of different materials and things will yield different results. So this is a pretty flexible mask by them. It's pretty thin, but it has some great Swiss dots on it. This is by Dreamweaver Stencils. Now they're completely the opposite. It's super rigid. It's a metal stencil, and it has some amazing detail in it. This damask pattern, or whatever you want to call it, the kind of the royal flourish type. These are metal and they do bend, okay, but they crease when they bend, so do be a little bit gentle there with them. And then this one is from Unwild Studio, and it's quite a bit more rigid than the other plastic mask, but it does have some give to it, and it's quite a bit thicker too. It's more similar to the metal, to the metal stencil in thickness. I also have out some burlap and some grain ribbon that we'll be using, but I want to show you, here's an example of some of the stenciling. This is two examples, and I have them both here because I've stenciled with the same thing, just some thick Blick Artist white gesso, through the same stencil, that metal stencil from Dreamweaver, and I yielded two completely different results. And the reason is because the ribbon is so different. This is the same grow grain that we'll be using, but it's just in this like berry purple color, but this is some sheer. And so because the weave is so loose and it's so thin, the gesso actually went right through the ribbon onto my craft mat underneath, and then made this much more blotted kind of shadowy effect, which is still really great and a really, really cool thing. See the difference in the two? But here you can see this pattern lined out quite a bit better, okay? And then another thing that's going to play into what we're working on today is how hard you press and just exactly what you use to push the gesso through. So gesso is a thick, heavy, medium, it's a base basically that you use to prime a canvas or prime a piece of wood or whatever you're going to paint on. And it's to create an even surface and even color. And this is just the tub I have today. It's just a big tub. And you can use all kinds of gessos. Some of them come thinner, some of them come thicker. And really it depends on what you're working on, what you're going to want to use. Today I'm using this super thick body gesso because I want it to hold its weight. I want the gesso to hold its shape when we're working on this, okay? So I thought a great example would be showing you white gesso on like a cream colored ribbon, so that it's kind of color on color, that monochromatic scheme going on. And I've just got a regular, you can use a credit card or a palette knife or anything. I've just got a regular plastic palette knife, and this is kind of important. I've dipped some gesso out, but I'm going to scoop it onto the side of the tub and move it more towards the edge, okay? Because we only want to do one pass. If we're passing back and forth on this, we're pushing the gesso in, and it's going underneath the stencil, and it's going to turn out more like that sheer example that I showed earlier. But for me today, I want it more like this, okay? So the fewer passes, the better. So I've scraped it up to the edge. I've lined up my stencil pretty well. I'm going to put some down, and then I'm just gonna scrape it down, okay? And there are a couple spots it missed, so I'm just gonna go like this. Just once. I'm gonna try not to do it too many times because I don't want to push that through and get some on the edge there. Okay, I'm gonna stop here, and I'm going to lift the stencil up and away. There we go. Look at how cool that is. Isn't that amazing? See that? So superb. And the dimension on it is amazing because I'm using this thicker style gesso, okay? So I'm gonna move that over. And I just wanna show you a couple different stencils, the way it works. I'm gonna use the Wow Studio one on this one. It's a bunch of little stars. And I'm gonna set my other stencil to the side to be cleaned. And we wanna clean them pretty quick so that the paint doesn't dry in there and mess them up. I'm doing the same thing on this one. I've got a scoop on there. I'm scraping it on the edge and then piling it back up a little bit better, okay? And hold the stencil down. As few passes as possible. And you want to be sure to hold your stencil down, all right? Otherwise it's going to pop up. Let's pull from this side. There we go. Fun little stars. All right. So there's that. Now I'm going to set this to the side and let that dry. I'm going to bring out this gorgeous red burlap. Actually, I always have a wipe handy. I want to wipe this up because I don't want anything on the back side of my burlap. I haven't quite figured out my final project with these, but I'm excited to use them now that I have them. And then this is so we use the Dreamweaver stencil, the Wow Studio stencil, and then this is gosh, I think it's Gourmet Stamps, okay? And it's quite a bit thinner, so I'm not exactly sure how this one's going to work out. And also, because it's thinner and my ribbon is thick, it's kind of popping up in the middle. So I'm going to have to kind of work this one a little even faster than normal, okay? So here we go. Ooh, look at how fun that is. Isn't that great? And you guys, oh, and look, that's the gesso going through the burlap ribbon because it's such an open weave. It just gets right through those holes in the weave, okay? And that didn't happen on our other tube, our grow grain because it's such a tight weave. But so that's it for this. Now I'm just gonna let these sit and dry, and then they're all gonna have this pattern stuck to them, and I'm gonna move on to a project. So that's just gesso today on the ribbon, okay? You can also do inks and mists and splatters and all kinds of things through stencils. And you can draw through stencils. Just keep in mind you are working on a fabric, and some paints and inks and like especially inks, watercolors, and like markers, things like that will bleed into the fabric. But if that's what you're going for, or you want a really nice watercolor effect, go for it, all right? Until next time, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by today. Bye.